India managed to seal a 2-1 series victory in the 3-match T20I series against Australia despite being down 1-0 after the first match, and obviously that would be a sense of relief not just for Indian fans but also for the Indian cricket team themselves. However, even though Rohit Sharma has gone on to admit after the final T20I that took place in Hyderabad that India did gain a lot from this particular series, he has also admitted that there are things they still need to work on, and he's actually picked out quite a few things which he's felt are important for the team to work on ahead of course, not just the South Africa series but also the T20 World Cup, which is now less than a month away. So speaking to the press after the match finished, I'm not talking about the post-match presentation, I'm talking about the press conference, he did have a number of things to say about a lot of things that would be on cricket fans' minds. So we've picked out some of the things that were pretty interesting in what it is that he said, and it is worth noting that he's talked a lot about not just the wicket-keeping position but a lot about the bowling, in particular of course Bhuvneshwar and Harshal Patel. First, let's talk about what it is that he said about Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I'm sorry. He said that and we note for a fact that with Bhuvi in recent times he has been struggling a lot in the death. He's leaked runs, he's been very good up front, but generally speaking the later in the match he's asked to bowl, the more runs he's leaked, and that was a problem that has been cropping up in recent times a lot. But Rohit has stood firm with Bhuvneshwar, who's of course a senior experienced pro. He has of course said that he's bowled these difficult overs in the death for us in the past, so he's done that, and that is of course in his mind. He hasn't forgotten how to bowl in the death overs. He's not forgotten how to bowl those yorkers. He's not forgotten how to vary his lines, lengths, and of course pace. Now it's important that we show faith in him and that we keep backing his skill set. So as far as Rohit is concerned, he did admit that yes, Bhuvneshwar's form in the death overs has been a bit of a concern, but he's not wavering from the plans that they have set. He does intend to give Bhuvi more chances to actually bowl in the death and actually rectify those wrongs rather than just remove him from bowling into death right now and actually have to chop and change plans. So in a way, I actually respect that a lot because it shows that there is a long-term thinking in place where there are set roles for players, and rather than panic and chop and change those roles on a consistent basis, it does make more sense to actually stick with those roles and then see how it is that these players respond to the challenges, because good form and bad form is a part and parcel of life in sport. And with Bhuvneshwar, we note for a fact that even as recently as the IPL this year and subsequent international matches, he was bowling well in the death. Unfortunately, this blip in form has come about during the Asia Cup and it's followed him in the Australia series as well. But according to Rohit, team management plans to stick with Bhuvneshwar in the death, and they don't intend actually changing up their plans. They want to back him and make him get back into form rather than stop him from bowling, or as many people suggested, just they don't plan on dropping him, and they certainly don't plan on only using him up front in the power plays and in the middle overs. They do intend sticking with him as a death bowling option, and they hope that they will get back his form. Now, speaking of course of bowlers and particularly death bowling options, there's also Harshal Patel, who we note for a fact had missed a good couple of months of cricket due to picking up an injury at the worst time, and he has made his return in the Australia series, but for the most part there has been clear signs of rust, which is to be expected when a bowler is returning from injuries. But there's also the simple fact that before the third T20I, he did look like he was becoming a bit predictable. Matthew Wade in particular had a ball of a time batting against Harshal. Harshal was consistently bowling those cutters. Wade was waiting for them and hitting them out of the park. However, any calls for Harshal to actually be dropped or maybe tweaking his role or maybe preferring another bowler, Rohit has knocked back on that. He said very clearly that, look, we've not looked to judge Harshal based on what he's been bowling in these past 3 games, because we know what he can do. That's the key part, is that they are aware that he has these skills to be a lethal bowler in the death, and they know that he possesses that skill set. So, and he also added that he's bowled some tough overs for us in the past, and he did make a mention also of the fact that he's done so not only for the Indian team but also his IPL franchise Royal Challengers Bangalore. So with Harshal, the plan also remains similar for what it does to Bhuvi, although again circumstances are differing. In Bhuvi's case, he suffered a blip in form. In Harshal's case, it's not just that he was dealing with a little bit of bad form, but ended up getting injured at the worst time possible. So Rohit's plan stays similar. He wants to keep backing both Harshal Patel and Bhuvneshwar Kumar and give them as many chances as possible before the T20 World Cup to find their rhythm and find their form. So in a sense, that is a good plan, because as I said, it's better to have continuity and stick to your plans even if things aren't working, rather than panicking and then chopping and changing plans on a continuous basis. We've seen Indian teams do that in the past and it never helps anyone. And it is worth noting that if you have an informed Bhuvneshwar and an informed Harshal bowling in the death for you alongside, of course, Jasprit Bumrah, then suddenly India's bowling looks a lot more lethal than it does right now, because we know for a fact that in recent matches the batting has won us more games probably than the bowling has, but the bowling is good on paper. They just need to find that little bit of form, and Rohit and co are hoping that they can find that form before the World Cup comes. Now, another key talking point among a lot of fans has been, of course, on the first choice wicketkeeper batsman, and whether or not you can actually be playing with two wicket keepers if the need so calls for it. Now, Rohit Sharma did admit that both DK and Pant actually need some game time. He said as much. He's saying that Dinesh needs some game time, but so does Pant. Both of them need game time in their own ways. But looking at this series, it was important to stick to that consistent batting lineup. Those words being very important, because if this is their consistent batting lineup, then it drops a major hint that DK will be the starting wicketkeeper batsman ahead of Pant come the World Cup, because the consistent batting lineup in recent times has included DK. Remember, there were debates over whether or not it would be DK or Pant starting for India in the Asia Cup. DK was the first choice, and Pant came back only when Jadeja got injured and India needed a left-hand option in the middle order. That was Pant, and that was the only time Pant came back, and he came back not in place of DK, but generally speaking, there were games when they even played together. So he does admit that both DK and Pant need game time, but the key part was, looking at this series against Australia, they felt the need to stick to the consistent batting lineup, and the consistent batting lineup features DK over Pant. He did add that we don't know what it is that we'll be doing against South Africa, because we would need to analyze what team combinations it is that they use, and if we feel we need to go in with an extra left-hander against not just South Africa but even in the World Cup, then we know that Pant is always an option. But that does make it very clear that as of now, Dinesh Karthik is the preferred choice for the Indian cricket team when it comes to the wicketkeeper batsman role. And in fact, we know for a fact that his role as a finisher has been pretty much set for him at this point. In fact, he'll not even bat if there's less than 2 or 3 overs or more than 2 or 3 overs left in the match. But the simple fact is they're not looking at Pant as the first choice as things stand. They're looking at him if they need a left-hand batsman in the middle order, or if they feel that a left-hand batsman would be beneficial, or an extra left-hand batsman, because remember, they do have Akshar Patel, who has acquitted himself very well with the ball through the Australia series. I mean, granted, he didn't get too many chances to bat, but with the ball he was very, very good and was also named man of the series. So it does look like it will be a struggle for Pant to get in as things stand, and that DK is in fact the first choice wicketkeeper batsman. Now, Rohit also had some interesting things to say about the series win. Now, you remember that India started the series with a loss. They then had to win the next 2 games to seal the series. But overall, Rohit was happy with the series win. He's saying that, we got whatever it is we wanted from the series. And he did admit, however, that there will be some areas that the team needs to improve on. But overall, I think it was a good series for us, and we got to learn a lot. Now, admittedly, there are things which we got to learn that we already knew. We knew for a fact that Bhuvi's form with the ball has been poor. We knew that Harshal and Bumrah would need to be watched out for, considering both were coming back from injury. But the good things that we as fans and of course supporters of the cricketing game in India got to know was that the Indian batting for the most part looks very, very solid. The bowling obviously needs some work, but there are encouraging signs for that as well. Remember, Harshal bowled a very, very good 20th over against Australia in the final T20I, and Yuzi Chahal also found some form in that final match. He took 1 wicket and was very, very economical. So that was also a good sign for the Indian team. But of course, he did say that there are things they want to be working on ahead of the series against South Africa and the T20 World Cup. But Enough about what Rohit or I feel. What do you guys think? Do you think that this Indian team are now better prepared for the World Cup than they were before the series, or do you think there's still some work to be done ahead of the South Africa series, as well as against South Africa, who, remember, have a very, very good record in India? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course tap the bell icon so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Then go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and last but not least, download the SportsTak app. Thank you once again for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Dias, and I hope to see you all through the day, but for now, bye bye.